But let's talk a little bit about some of my thoughts and questions that I had when we started getting to this pack. So the first thing I thought about was like, okay, we're getting another European inspired world. There's so much diversity amongst Europe, right? I get that. That being said, there are still places we have not gotten worlds inspired by. West Africa, South Africa, East Africa, heck, Central Africa. Africa and Australia would be fun. You said you agree. You guess Sims thinks Africa doesn't have small businesses, or Latin America or Southern US, etc. Yeah, because even remember how I keep advocating for an Atlanta-based pack? I'm like, this would have been perfect for Atlanta. Small businesses. So the other thought I had was, obviously I had already speculated that because of For Rent, we would probably be getting something like this in the future. I thought that we would be getting hotels next, but this, residential and business on the same lot is cool. What I can't tell based on this teaser is, will my Sims be able to go to those businesses without having to own them? I think the answer is yes, but some of it I can't tell. If I set up all this stuff, do I have to have a Sim own the business to set up all this stuff? Or can I have a small business venue lot, designate certain parts for a different business, set up all of this stuff, and then have my Sims come visit what I set up? Because with residential rentals, you can't set all this stuff up unless you own the residential rental. There's no like, oh, I'm making a residential rental, I'm setting the price of the rent, I'm setting the rules, without having a Sim come and own that building. They don't have a UI for that. And for me, that would be annoying, because one, it's not truly a multifunctional lot unless I can have those different businesses like that, right? Like, based on the small business venue lot, you can't have what is designated a lounge and what is designated a bar on the same lot. You can have, I guess, a small business venue where you have what is functionally the same as a bar and what is functionally the same as a lounge, but not technically tagged as a bar and a lounge. You think we should be able to set it without buying it? I believe that for restaurants, we can change the menu and outfits. Okay, so if we compare it to restaurants, you can set that stuff up. With residential rentals, yeah, you can't set that stuff up unless I just have never played with that feature correctly and I've missed that. So that's a good point. If we compare it to restaurants, maybe we'll be able to set things up without having to own it. Considering this is using the same system as For Rent, you can't set the residential rules unless you own the residential rental. And so I almost hope that they go back and update For Rent so that you can set the rules for residential rentals and the price of the rent without having to own the residential rental. For Rent is annoying. They need to fix so much. And that is another concern I have. I'm only moderately concerned because, to me, I'm going to assume 225 is the base game update until, it happens. So in the 225 base game update, I'm going to assume that they have a lot of fixes for Rent, because right now I still can't even build a roof without getting that error on the residential rentals, right? Like, creating a whole new system that is built in the same way as For Rent, when For Rent was a disaster at launch. Talk about another pack that my expectations were so high and then they plummeted because it doesn't go as far as I would want. Because even with For Rent, I'm like, you know what I really wish they would have also done? Might as well. I know the pack is called For Rent. I wish they just would have let us own the houses, right, that are on the same lot. Like, you could have a residential rental and then like a residential and a multifamily lot or something. They could have given it another name, but one version where you are renting and just another version that's exactly the same, but my Sims own it. And I think for the Sims team, that must be such an arbitrary distinction that it's like, whatever, you can make townhomes and then they just rent it instead of own it. It's like, no, I want my Sims to live on the same lot in a townhome situation, but instead of renting it, they own it. And that it's a big deal because it's like, okay, whenever there's problems, right? Like if there's a mechanical issue, you call over the landlord. I don't have a landlord. I own this place, but the game thinks that I'm just renting. And then it attaches like the leases and all that sort of stuff to it. It's like, no, my Sims just own this. It's just part of like the same same lot. You know, that's the kind of thing that I'm like, I need them to adjust that. And then it's like, what are the implications for that sort of system on a new expansion pack? I'm assuming you don't need to own it. Like with retail lots, it needs to be owned to be set anything for sale. But after that, you can save it and sell it, upload it. But that's what I mean, Nick. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I don't want to have to do that. I want to be able to set things from sale while I am building. I don't want anyone to have to own it. I want to be able to build and just put it in the world, and then my sim come and enjoy those things without having own it. Like, that's my biggest thing with this game. I don't want to have to do everything. I want the option to own the small business. But even the way that they're talking about this, it's like everything is from the lens of like, you can own a pool, you can own a lounge now. Because I guess right now, like, yeah, you can just have your Sims go to a lounge. But like, if I'm building a cool little multi-use lot thing, I don't want anyone to have to own it. I just want to be able to set it as something that they can play. And we don't know. We don't know right now, right? Like, we haven't gotten the gameplay trailer yet. We haven't gotten our hands on this pack yet. So I am not saying that it is going to be a certain way or it's not going to be a certain way. I'm just saying these are the kind of things that I'm having questions about, and I'm concerned. I am concerned. All the setup ruins the immersion, right? Let's say that they force me to have a sim own it. Like, okay, cool. Can I have another sim go and visit that lot and have to pay to enter? And I'm saying this and I'm like, I'm assuming that they thought about this and the answer to those things are yes. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And they need to be there because when you go to a restaurant or retail, I don't think you see the owner. That part too, breaking the immersion. So, okay, the retail lot works, but then the person who owns it isn't there. The residential lots, I think that you can designate certain rooms to be for the public and not for the public. I wonder if there will be loading screens for that. That to me seems like an intricate door locking system. But for the small business venue lot type, I think there's going to be loading screens between the different businesses. Another thought that I had was, this cool little part about being able to hire who you want. Is that something that's going to be backwards compatible for other packs? Because right now we can't do that. I like the idea of being able to hire who I want in my restaurant. You have Sims for businesses and hobbies. Does that little feature carry over to if I own a restaurant? Will my Sim be able to get a tattoo at a tattoo shop? Or will they always have to play as the owner of a tattoo shop? Again, there's no version of this to me that will work unless my Sims who do not own the businesses can go to the businesses and experience these things. So I just have to assume that if we set up a business that's a hair salon, can I bring my Sim to the small business hair salon and have them get their hair changed? Some other questions I have. What about going to do an activity or a class without having to play as the teacher, right? Like, so All in Her Movements brought up having a community college. So I have teaching lessons or whatever set up. Again, let's pretend I have to set all this up. Can my Sim go and take a class? Or do they always have to be the one teaching the class? Kinds of things can be taught. I saw someone bring up horse riding. Can we do horse riding lessons? Like I said earlier, can we do cooking lessons? They talked about possibly having different objects that you might need to do those lessons in the classes. Like if you're doing a music class, you might need an instrument. Same thing for cooking. I'm like, do we need counters? Do we need a stove or whatever? What's the limits of this? I would love to just you can have a class on anything that you have a high skill in. That would be super dope. Another thought, we only get 2 new hobbies. I've seen a lot of backlash about that. The comments on this video, a little bit on Twitter. Now, this to me, businesses and hobbies, much like how I feel about Get Together and the club system, I do think it's better the more stuff you already have. So it makes me think they didn't feel it necessary to add a whole bunch of new hobbies because they know that the way that they add hobbies to this game is basically specific to different packs. Could they have added sewing? In my opinion, yeah. They added pottery. We got tattoos. And that's it as far as hobbies. They can technically say hobbies because it's more than one. But we've gotten other hobbies in the past. The jewelry making, the crystal creation stuff pack, the knitting, it's a stuff pack. Painting is a base game skill and hobby already. The guitar, the violin, piano, the keyboard. We have things that are already hobbies. And so I guess having that stuff with this pack would be enhanced. But I do think it's odd that we only have 2. They did go pretty far into depth with those 2. But I've seen like, what about ballet and dancing? Like I said about sewing, and we get something like that. Flutes, that's a good one. Still want bands. I think bands are coming this year. Glass blowing, astronomy and stargazing, soap making, tea making, ice sculpting, puppet shows, topiary sculpting, etc. Ooh, you came with it. You said you feel like sewing fashion design is coming because you peeped the herbs outfit in this trailer. Ooh, Harold, that's a good one. Should have just been added to Get to Work, if we're being honest. Let's talk about it. What will the Get to Work cross compatibility look like? And how is the retail system going to be different than what we get in Get to Work? And we already see here, there's a lot that feels different already versus Get to Work. And one of the pushbacks I've seen on this thought is Get to Work was really about active careers. The retail system itself was kind of like a throwaway add-in. And recently when I played with the retail system, it feels so lacking in comparison to even the inventory table. With the retail system, you can only mark things up to 100%. With the inventory table, you can mark things up to 300%. So I'm like, are they going to go back and update that? Is there going to be backwards compatibility to Get to Work? Or is there going to be enhancements to Get to Work? Is there going to be something here for the people who already have that? Or is this yet another system? The Sims loves all these different systems that functionally do the same thing. So are you gonna, if we have this, is it gonna override the retail system already had? Or what's happening? They're little sales surfaces. I want that. Is that the difference too? Like if you have the retail system with Get to Work, you can set any object essentially as for sale. But then with this Business and Hobbies Expansion Pack, you can only set things for sale that are on the surfaces. I would be wildly disappointed. I also see right here, they have a little arcade, like little icon. They said if you have Get Together, you can make your own little arcade. And I'm like, but you didn't give us more arcade items. You didn't give us more arcade stuff. We have the same arcade stuff as what we've had for 10 years. Is that right? Are we going to get an arcade kit? I wouldn't be mad at it. You know, if you're not going to give us refreshes, I don't know. Can you sell fabricated furniture at this small business? I mean, even looking at these little icons as an example, they've got the little laundromat icon, the little mirror thing to show off like makeovers, the karaoke symbol, the pool, something to do with the pets, the arcade, obviously the pottery and the tattoos. I'm assuming this is like a little candy shop icon, right? And then again, there's more icons that we can't see. There's a lot of options, it seems, but like we have Get to Work. This to me, they do feel different, but at what cost? My last thought was, and I think the answer is going to be no. When it comes to cross-pack compatibility, can I have a residential rental and then a small business on the same lot? Can I have my sim rent the upstairs area and then also there's a separate business downstairs? I think the answer to that is no. As far as I'm concerned, that's cross-pack compatibility. And the reason why I think the answer is no is because the residential rental is a lot type. The whole lot has to be designated as a residential rental. So yeah, it's probably not possible. There are limitations that it could have been functionally built differently. The way that they described this, it didn't seem like it was a separate lot type. And it could be, and I just am not understanding based on the description. But I took this to mean that how we have just a residential lot, when you have the Sims 4 Businesses and Hobbies Expansion Pack, you can click on the rooms and decide which ones are basically associated with the business and which ones are associated just with the residents. And then there's a separate lot type called a small venue lot type. So it makes me think like maybe they'll go back to for rent, and instead of setting the whole lot type as a residential rental, which now that I'm thinking about it, like wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't do this, but it would have been cool to have had this from the beginning. It's because it was always residential. Just like, do you want to add units? Yes or no? And if so, what unit? But maybe this that we're looking at right here is a separate lot type, and I just can't tell. You said you don't think so either. We can't have a cafe and karaoke together because those are different lot types. But we can put a coffee pot and a karaoke machine on a small business lot. Yeah, and if you have Get Together, if I have all the stuff for a cafe, will it work? That makes new questions. What about NPC employees? again, this goes back to, can I set up small businesses without having my Sims own them? Because, for example, I'm just thinking about like maybe you make a fair and you have activities for people to do, and then you also have the food stalls, and you need people to work the food stalls. Can I hire people for that? Will that not be something I can actually have? Will I need to hire like an employee by clicking on the food stall? Will they update it so that when you place different objects, the NPC will show up? So like if I have a little cafe lot that's also a cafe and a karaoke bar, will the person who works as a barista, will they automatically show up? Or will I have to hire for it still? That would be a great, that to me, that's eyeballs worthy. On 225, that's eyeballs worthy. Every time you put down an item that's associated with an NPC will show up without you having to do anything. You know what else is eyeballs worthy? You can have more than 8 Sims in your household. You know what else is eyeballs worthy? You can have more than 20 Sims loaded in at a time. Or you can set your settings so that you can have up to 50 or 100 Sims without MC Command Center. That's eyeballs worthy. It's not cars. It's not burglars. But to me, that is eyeballs worthy. And I already told y'all, my other big question was about wills. Life and death did not come with the ability to pass down businesses in wills. And I thought that was some bull. So now in this pack, we see here the transferring of the business from the parents to the child. I like that. That seems independent from wills in life and death. What level of EA partner do you have to be to get early access? You got to be one of the chosen few, and I am not. I would like to be. So if you're in the EA Creator Network, you get early access. So it's available to everyone on March 6th. I will get access to this on March 4th or earlier, but definitely by March 4th. So it's not a lot of time to investigate. You better believe that's what we're doing that week on stream. We're just going to be poking around. Conversation around cross-pack compatibility lets me know that they want us to think about all of the different possibilities and really try to create something that feels unique to us. And I like that. I like that they are like, hey, how can we make cross-pack compatibility the core of this experience? Because I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again just because I think it matters. Get Together is one of those packs that's easy to sleep on, in my opinion, until you realize that every new pack that comes out, Get Together has cross-pack compatibility. Because every time there's a new skill, every time there's a new thing you can do, for the most part, there's a couple things that are missing, but like 88% of the things you can do in the game, you can do as a club with Get Together. If Businesses and Hobbies becomes that, but for community lots, this is going to be a game changer for this game. It will be. No, I'm not even trying to be dramatic. I think that's going to be cool. Every time we get new content for the game, we could have a new business or something around that content. That's cool. I feel like the more I talked about, like, is it going to have this? Is it going to have this? I got a little less excited, but I also just think I have like Sims 4 content fatigue because we've gotten so many little kits recently. And then now we're getting this expansion pack, which my initial reaction was, how is this different from Get to Work? Which that seems to be a lot of the questions. Why wasn't Life and Death part of Growing Together? Why wasn't a Love Struck part of Growing Together? Why are they separating things like this? Why is this a full expansion pack and not a game pack? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'll have early access. Most likely 2 days early. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you are following me because we will be investigating when it comes out, okay?